Welcome to our Mochi Podqast, episode 7 with Gaël Blanchemain. Sorry, your last name. The French escapes me.
Oh, don't worry about it. You can pronounce it either the English way, Blanchemain, or if you want to do really French, you do Blanchemain.
Blanchemain. Gotcha.
That's right.
Yeah, I tried to like do people's names like appropriately, just because like they're like having lived abroad in different places. Just like the names that are like close enough, but like it's clearly why is this the universal understanding of it? So like Peking duck, it's supposed to be Beijing. Japan is a bastardization of Zipangu.
Oh, right. Yeah.
So with names, I mean, I feel like that's the smallest courtesy I could do.
Well, I appreciate that, and it generally derives from a nice motivation and a nice approach. It's something that I can very quickly tell where the conversation is going, or if it's going to go well, by the first approach. And it's true that people who just bust their ass trying to pronounce my impossible foreign name, it's a good sign in general.
Yeah, it reminds me of like the whole thing. So with like gender identity and what pronouns people like to go by. It's very much in like the same route of somebody calling you a nickname that you don't appreciate, or like just calling somebody like Dickface instead of their name.
Yeah, it's about the same issue. I have the same impression. It's every time society constrains me a little bit for the sake of making the person in front of me a little more comfortable. Mm-hmm. I think that's the path to go. Not at any price, but I completely agree with.
Yeah, and especially also like another thing that pops into mind that like in regards to names, like I knew so many Polish people in like the Chicago suburbs, and like Polish names have been like crazy adopted as soon as they like immigrated, because there were so many S's, C's, Z's, and we're just like, how can I simplify this to make your name more palatable to the American lexicon?
I know. I have one of my friend is a second generation American, and his name is Helmut Floss.
Mm-hmm.
And
Helmut, is that German?
He grew up in yes, totally German. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and what he would hear from the older generation, Helmut, what kind of name is that?
The one that protects your head.
And that's right. Pretty much.
Yeah, but there are names that like kind of go out of fashion that I definitely that kind of suck, because like Hitler ruined Adolf as a name, and that was a perfectly legitimate name before. Lucifer isn't a name you can get away with.
I bet you some adopted it. The rule in France was that if the first name was not in the I don't know what you call that, a calendar, then if it didn't refer to somebody famous in history, mm-hmm. then you were not allowed to pick it. But now everybody does everything they want. And I was afraid for the kids who would just come for the first day of school called like, I don't know, Lucifer or Baphomet.
But those names are fucking cool.
Yeah, those names are cool. That's for one. And those names now, it's there's some kind of peer pressure to have an original name, mm-hmm. that makes it that now there's no original name anymore. Mm-hmm. I don't think you'd be slapped in the face for being called for being called Baphomet or something like that. Though
somehow Gaylord is still a name. Like how is that a thing for like the last 100 years? Right?
Yeah, I didn't think about that, but yeah, that still exists. I think if you're strong enough, it's like what song is that by Johnny Cash? A guy named Sue. You know the story,
no,
right?
I don't know about
that. A guy named Sue is a guy that's named Sue, and it's the whole theme of the story. And the guy hates his father's guts for having given mm-hmm. this ridiculous name, and eventually he meets his dad, and the dad tells him, "Boy, life is hard. The world is, it's really an unforgiving place. So I wanted you to since I knew I was not going to be there around you for too long, I called you Sue so that you would learn to kind of defend yourself early on in your life. So we called Sue. Baphomet would be the equivalent, I imagine. I don't know.
Yeah, but
I
Baphomet's
don't know.
like the badass angle to it, you know.
It's true.
It's much more. You're already starting out on the defensive if your name's Sue. Not to name bash here, but like,
I agree
there's
with you.
some naming
I agree
norms
with you.
that are very strange.
Oh, in Tibet, it's funny. I have the weird feeling I already discussed that with you. But in Tibet, if you're born under the wrong stars, like on the wrong day, astrologically you are particularly prone to being attacked by entities or things like that, they will give you a ridiculous name on purpose, because that way invisible entities, demons, and what have you won't be interested because you have a ridiculous name. So that's why you have women who are called Chi Lu in Tibet. Chi means dog, Lu means what the dog leaves behind. So you get the idea. What they basically are called dog poop, because that's the way to keep assailants and demons at bay.
Interesting.
And the same. I've had a friend who also, he was from another area, not so far from Tibet, and his name was Kali. His first name, his secret name was Kali, because he was born on the wrong day, and so they gave him a terrific, like Baphomet, a terrific name in order to keep the danger at bay. That's. So yeah, there are definitely very, very different naming traditions.
I pseudo get that, just because like I know as far as like demonology goes, it's like the demon's name has a lot, gives it power, or like, which is kind of metal, and like it explains why they've got such like badass names. Beelzebub, Baphomet, Mephisto. I think Bruce Lee's parents were also pretty superstitious. Supposedly for like a long time, like when he was growing up. I did like a book report on Bruce Lee when I was in like middle school, and there was like something.
Nice.
There was something about him. His parents were like very superstitious. I think they had lost like one or two boys, and so they got like the feeling like the spirits didn't want them to have a boy, and so when he was a kid, they raised him as a little girl.
Wow. And he did some ballet, right?
He did cha-cha.
He was a dancer?
He did cha-cha.
He cha-cha.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's a cha-cha champion, actually. Which sounds like a stutter, not an achievement.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't know that about Bruce Lee.
There's again, don't like this. This is from a long time ago, of like a bastardized book report of a character.
Oh yeah,
I think it's somewhere there. Same thing with like Jackie Chan. Like he was sold by his parents to like an Australian, and he was enrolled in like a theater performing arts group with a bunch of like gymnasts, essentially, and like him and like 3 or 4 of the 5 kids that were in like these like little dragons, they eventually became like some of like the hugest guys, like Sammo Hung. I can't remember the other dude's name. He's in like all of like the police cop or the super cop movies. Yeah, I fucking love those kung fu guys. Their stories were always like the most interesting to me as a kid.
Oh yeah, and far away from anything one could have imagined about what made them who they are or who they became.
So Gaël, does that mean something? Can you tell me the story like with your name, just like on the topic of names?
Oh, Gaël means son of the wind, and it's totally. My parents were at the time Ireland, and Irish and Gaelic names were just trendy, and so they picked up on the trend. There is nothing really special, but I don't identify with my name. All the more as I changed name when I became a monk, they gave me another name. So
what's your monk name?
You know, Zhongchuk, which means it means enlightenment.
Oh, cool.
Zhong means completely the mind completely purified or cleansed up from its emotional defilements. And chup means all the qualities inherent to the mind are completely developed. Of course, it's a direction. It doesn't reflect what I truly am right now. I'm not Chongchup, but I aspire to.
So they just give you the name, or do you have to like choose it somehow, like a baptism kind of thing?
They give you a name and you deal with it. And hopefully it sounds right. Mine is impossible to pronounce, but I was used to that with my previous name. My current civil name is hard to pronounce as well, so it doesn't really matter. But it lets you kind of contemplate and
be more like
kind of
self-meditating of like your own identity.
Yeah.
How did you?
Exactly.
So how did you get into like the Buddhist monk shtick?
The Buddhist monk thing was quite obvious because I was practicing and meditating every day. I switched from just doing LSD several times a week to being really fed up with seeing my friends going crazy and you know the whole scene when those type of, I mean, these early years are generally quite crazy as well. And so I got interested in meditating, and I learned that at a Buddhist center because I thought, well, I might as well go to what I identify as the root of this tradition.
And was this in Marseille? Said you're from Marseille, right?
I'm from Marseille, yes. But the center is in the center of France. It's not exactly in Marseille. Stayed a month there. Anyway, picked up on meditation, found that awesome, and then practiced every day. And the more I would practice, the more I would think this is the only thing I want to do. At least for now, this is the only thing I want to focus on. It's exactly what I've been starving this thing for years.
Did you have to like live in the center? Was it like a monastery?
It was a center. It still is a center. So it welcomes anyone, you know, across the spectrum of genders and races, and it's completely open. There was a mini monastery that we established because we needed some place to breathe. You have to remember we were all with chastity vows, all the monks and nuns. So being constantly mingled with attractive young people is...
Did you have to like shave your head, wear robes?
Yeah. I did all that. But if it's true that in Asia, when you do that, it sends a clear message about what you want to do. In France, where I've been a monk mostly, and in the US, it's more of something that's truly exotic and somewhat attractive for a lot of people. So you don't exactly get the same results you would expect. You're made more interesting.
There are different social implications.
Oh, that's the least you can say. But well, you get used to it.
So how long? So you're still practicing monk?
I still practice Buddhism, and I'm not a monk anymore. It's been about 10 years that I'm not a monk anymore. I gave back my vows after 10 years. But I practice just as well. I actually practice more and more these days. This is something that it's the fact of being a monk or not a monk, the fact of practicing or not practicing. I can't say they are totally not correlated, but you can be not monk and practice more than a lot of monks I know. I'm telling you.
It's the way priests are too.
Yeah, you can easily I think the comparison makes sense. Yeah, you can. You don't really know. It's a means. Okay, becoming a monk is a means. You really set your life up to make more room for meditation and for others. And that's what I did, and from that perspective, it was exactly what I wanted. I meditated more, and I was more available for others.
That's good.
Which is being available for others is the main perspective in the Buddhist tradition I'm in.
What tradition is that?
Kajupa, which is one of the 4 lineages of Tibetan Buddhism. It's and they're all what's called Mahayana, which means Maha is, so you know that, the great path or the large path, because it involves having, you want to walk that path, but not only for yourself. You want to walk that path, and you want to liberate every being around you as well from suffering. Which doesn't imply that you're gonna evangelize the hell out of the whole world.
Yeah.
It's a completely different scenario. Hopefully,
is that like the is like bodhisattva? Is that a concept in Buddhism, or is that I know it in the context of like Hinduism?
Right.
Is that also in Buddhism?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. No, they're very. The two traditions are really side by side, and lots of bodhisattvas in Vedic traditions. Yeah,
it's always interesting, like going back and like kind of seeing the historical lineage, like because Hinduism is like super fucking old, Buddhism is comparatively relatively new.
Very young, yeah, absolutely, and revolutionary. You know, the guy who would claim that doesn't matter if you are a Dalit or if you are a Brahmin. Your essence is the same.
It's like just kind of transcending like the classical or the class-based kind of moral system.
Completely, and saying that you have already that nature, that enlightened nature is the same whoever you are across all classes. That was, I don't know how he managed not to get killed over that.
He was a prince, wasn't he? I mean,
yeah, he was, but he renounced all that. So
I don't know. I think you still got like a guy with like a sniper bow just over your shoulder, constantly watching you. I don't know. You want to divulge royal secrets?
Sarbacanes, yeah. I don't know, bow and arrows. I don't know, but yeah, it was revolutionary, and it still is. It's very difficult to apply on a day-to-day basis and to accept as well. I'm not saying it's an easy tradition.
It's interesting seeing like the for people who are practicing or not practicing, but like the ideas that are kind of for better living that people kind of eventually get out of it. You know, some people, you know, are horrible, even being devout practitioners.
Oh yeah.
But like the different values of like, you know, taking care of your neighbors, being good and being available, being mindful of yourself, and over consumption. It's all like very pragmatic and, you know, very good for your own like mental health stuff.
Yeah, I think it definitely helps in that sense. It can be misunderstood, and once again, the same mistakes can be done with Buddhism, I think, as with other spiritual tradition. You can read the book upside down, and really convince yourself of things that have nothing to do with Buddhism, but more with your own neurosis. So, also something that I'm still working on. Trying and read these books and trying to understand the message as close as possible to how they were intended, and not through my own expectations, fears, and what have you, which is it's tempting, you know, to make your religion the thing that protects you out of everything. But it's not necessarily what it means.
I think that's my my parallel with that would probably be like my attitude towards martial arts. Just because, you know, everybody wants to say that they have the strongest fighting style, they've got the most comprehensive, most, you know, successful martial arts style. This is the thing that'll kick everybody's ass. It has the deepest history. It has the best techniques, the most explosive power. But like, really, you know, they're an exercise. It's about how you kind of develop yourself pragmatically, and how you decide to, you know, kind of approach the rest of your life. It teaches you discipline. And like
It is.
to me, you know, there are elements of dance, but there's elements of just like, you know, learning. In Muay Thai, people think it's all about like kicking down trees, but like if you're sparring, the objective isn't to like knock your sparring partner out, because nobody wants to fucking spar with you. It's about to like you play with the other person, and you kind of learn how to. That's how you develop techniques. That's how you learn and like get better. Like rolling in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, it's like it's practical, and like if you want to like choke somebody out, that's probably like the most mileage you're gonna get out of it in like an everyday situation. But you know, if you're in a bar fight, you're not gonna be want to rolling around, because you know they might have a friend with a bar stool ready to smack you in the head.
Oh yeah.
Uh,
Oh yeah. That's it's I agree with that, and the parallel is justified between martial arts and at least Eastern spiritualities. It really there's the perception we come all with that there is a prize or a reward or something. There's a goal somewhere on the path, and then you get that goal, whether it be slamming the head of whoever is doing another martial arts, and you prove your point that yours is the best and the biggest. Or like realizing a certain state if you're into meditation.
yeah,
really,
mastery of like a martial art versus like enlightenment, or just like,
exactly,
you know,
exactly.
what does it mean to have like the black
really,
belt with the fourth stripe?
it means a lot if you're in a tradition that for which your so-called accomplishments are going to bring you supporters and financial supporters, and that's where it gets really really rotten at the core. But in any case, I personally decided to take it as a daily practice, as you said. I decided to enjoy the process really as much as I could. And this is, I think, a more sustainable way to get involved into some kind of practice. So I was a monk. I'm not a monk anymore. I might be a monk later. You never know.
You're married, right?
I'm married, so
does
it's very unlikely to happen.
I don't know. There are priests who had like, you know, have kids. The marriage goes south.
That happens. Right.
But like, is your wife into Buddhism? Is she spiritual? Does she practice anything?
She's completely Buddhist. Yeah, that's how we met, and I think that's also what made our union so
He was a
fruitful.
monk. She was a nun. Do I need to be any more obvious?
She's never been a nun and never wanted to be, but no, we share a lot. We share enough to not fight over details and not having to discuss like the major lines and blueprints of our lives. We know what we want to do. So yeah, it's really cool. That part is really cool.
Yeah, that's really good.
Really happy about it.
Yeah, whenever I'm discussing with my wife, like, oh, what would have been like what would have been like hard no's if we were like just starting dating? What would have been like like I'm out, and like spirituality and like being like either way too devout or having like, you know, radical positions that you're really not willing to move on. That's a really big deal breaker.
I broke a deal on that basis. I left my first very serious girlfriend over that, and that was to become a monk, and I was terrible because also there is, what is she gonna tell her friends? I thought about it later, but oh, you left me because you wanted to become a Buddhist.
Is that
monk.
the equivalent of like
That's not
she left me and became a lesbian? Like
exactly. That's what I thought.
Wow, was the sex that
That's
bad? Christ.
What did you do to that guy? But
fucking shaved his head and
but
vowed
anyway.
abstinence. Christ.
Right. No. It's something that I'm very, very satisfied with. But you know, there's a whole path, and I feel it's with Buddhism or with meditation, I think that's a general rule. It's you get the feeling you walk backwards, one step forward, three step because you zoom out so many, on the picture of your life, and there's many elements that are perceived in a very different way. So
yeah, there's that
I really
there's that Dogon quote. If you don't find truth where you stand, where will you find it?
yeah, exactly, and this is that's not an easy one, because you can do that via meditation, and I think the version of meditation that's being marketed these days is very prone to understanding it for what it's not, for a means to obtain powers. And and if it's true that it's tangential to meditation, and yes, you can indeed develop exceedingly high capacity for focusing on a particular topic, and become. But you should not meditate for that reason.
You're not gonna breathe fire or be able to transform into like a lion.
No, you're not going to be able to do that. You
At
might
least not in this life, supposedly, theoretically.
No, and your personality is not likely to change. It's probably going to stay the same. It's how you handle it that's going to change. But I think it's good enough. For me, it's good enough. But I'm getting old, that's why.
Going into more of the metaphysical, where do you land on like reincarnation?
I'm still to be convinced. I just took the package of Buddhism and said, why not? After all, why not?
About as plausible as any other suggestion.
Exactly. I have no idea. But my current stand on it is that yes, there is possibly some sort of because everything is in continuity. And are interrelated. You don't find any event or any circumstance that's not the product of many other circumstances. So anyway, your life is completely interwoven with so many other phenomena, and so as you progress towards the other life, I'm sure there are commonalities. I'm sure there is something out there that is common with you in the previous life. But let's be serious. Do we remember our previous life? So what? Yeah, maybe reincarnation is a thing, but it's certainly not. It doesn't save you from death. There is still the death.
Well, that's like
of
the whole point of like
person.
transcending it,
Yeah, but it takes time to kind of swallow it and digest it properly. I'm still on it personally.
I think my problem with like specifically reincarnation is like, if you reincarnate into being like maybe a dog, that's fine because a dog's life is roughly 15 years. That's not terrible.
Right.
But if you reincarnate and you're like a rock, which has been there for 50 million years, that's a long time.
Yeah, that according to Buddhism, you can have unfortunate rebirth of that nature, but they belong more, and they're classified as hells.
Yeah,
for that reason.
This is like the cycle of samsara, right?
Yeah, yeah. But you're not forced to end up as a rock or as some kind of, because you can also be reborn in an object, in the sense that you strongly identify with this object and you consider that this hammer is your body. I mean, that's just completely crazy, but it goes much further than what a lot of people believe. So I don't know. It's the idea of reincarnation is I'm neutral to that point. I don't know. I have no idea. It seems it's something that anyway has to do with what we consider existing. in Buddhism, they insist on the fact that true existence, something that exists, would be existing on its own without the help of any other phenomena, and for an undefined amount of time, and nothing matches those criteria. So
Technically, the
our
universe
life,
in itself matches that criteria. There isn't really a
but
proper explanation, and it is simultaneously all of time and all of space.
yeah, let's say that it's an interesting approach to it. Yeah, you can consider that the universe is maybe that. Uh, I don't know. I have a hard time. I have a hard time really understanding what science says about the universe and how it was born. And that Big Bang theory is I don't know. It's
Not that great a show,
I
I
think
agree.
it it's no, but I'd like to understand it better. But for now, I'm not really.
Mhm.
It's going to sound extremely arrogant, but I'm not really convinced. It sounds like a magic trick to kind of explain everything all of a sudden coming to existence. I don't know.
Mhm.
It sounds surreal.
I mean, I think that is where a lot of people will generally kind of go into like, oh, there is a point where science kind of like it eventually starts to sound like magic and like its own religion, and people will call it kind of like a scientism
Right,
or something akin to that. But like,
right.
oh, math kind of checks out. It's just kind of, do you have the time to kind of like sit through and parse it out, which most people honestly really don't have the time to. I tried explaining it once to like a friend while we were drinking, which was also, an indicator of it being a bad choice. Uh, but I think it was up to like 4 a.m. trying to explain like how quantum physics kind of explains that we don't exist. Uh,
That's a
I,
brave
I'm
attempt.
very skeptical about reality, and I'm much braver about it while I'm drinking. So this is tea,
Yeah,
by the way.
same here. Same here. Yeah. You'd be welcome having vodka in the evening.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
So you eventually moved to the New York as a translator, and now
That's right.
you're in Oregon. How'd you kind of like
That's right.
settle on a place and like that time in your life?
No, no, it's I still don't feel at
Hmm.
home. And I never felt at home other than in Marseille,
Hmm.
honestly. But I don't think I'm gonna go back to Marseille and live there. It's just that I haven't. There's so many. Look, there's so many paradises still in this world, and we don't get to enjoy it. Like my wife is gonna take me to Cancun and all the areas surrounding it, and
Hmm.
it's. And I've lived in these conditions for like a few months, in El Salvador and just by the beach. Oh my God,
I gotta check out more of Central and Southern
it's
America, Central and then South America, and also Southern America.
yeah,
Honestly,
yeah,
only been to Florida.
yeah, yeah,
Florida's not a good
yeah. You,
cross section of anything.
I don't know. I won't allow myself to say anything about it. Being French, I discover still everything, but no, I don't think it would be Portland, other than me being completely satisfied and in awe with how people are kind
Hmm.
here and much more open than any place I've visited so
Hmm.
far. But no, I'm not considered settled. It'd be great if my body and mind allow it to continue and tour the world with my wife
Hmm.
and and attempt at living other
Do you have a
places.
citizenship in the States?
No, I
Uh,
don't.
do you think you're going to be
A
going for
green
that at any
card.
point? At this point, I wouldn't say the
Um,
passport's really worth it. So, I mean,
um, I don't know. The last episode of Trump being elected
mhm.
really threw a bucket of ice cold water on my face, and I really thought, well, is this something I want to be a part
Shining,
of?
the shining castle on the hill is a guy in a trench coat. Like, check out my golden dick.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That really scared me. So I don't know. I don't
Mhm.
know. Maybe not. It's true that it's something to think about, but I don't know. No, I just or Portugal even. I mean, there's so many beautiful countries with beautiful
Mhm.
people. The thing is just how you get it to last and how we're gonna adapt to it. I
You
don't
get
know.
rich. That's how. You get enough money to
Yeah,
not have to actually make a decision. You just have the option, you know?
yeah, yeah. That's on my blueprint, and that's on my roadmap as well. We'll see if it's something I can
Is
accomplish.
your
But
wife from the
yeah,
States?
no, she's from El
Uh-huh.
Salvador. She's from Central America, and she's a
Hmm.
citizen, so she doesn't have my issue.
Hmm.
But yeah, we both share the same status of not really belonging anywhere. It's too late to come back to our country,
Hmm.
but we're not part of the U.S. as of yet.
Yeah.
I don't know about you,
No, that.
and I don't know how you live because you're a citizen, an American citizen,
Yep.
aren't you? Okay,
Technically second
so you don't
generation.
have.
So I mean, I honestly think it's like it's a really big thing. I think I've talked about this in like other podcasts, like the whole idea of like kind of placelessness. Uh, and like my parents, like they sometimes like struggle to feel like they're Americans when they're anywhere except for outside of America. So if they're in the States, like they're Filipino, they're different from other Americans, but anywhere else they're proud to be like, oh, we're Americans, we can do this, we can do that. Um, but like at home, you know, you because you feel like you look different from what is otherwise the stereotypical American, and you speak a different language, and it's not part of their natural inclinations to be proud of being American, which I think, you know,
Uh,
there's a lot of people who were like brought to America as like little kids, and like they can't feel like they're from Mexico, like if they, especially if they don't speak the language. And in the States, they're always treated like they're a minority. So, do you feel like you're an American in the place that you grew up? You know,
Hard to
yep.
tell, huh? Yeah. And, I that's how I feel with Vilma, my wife. She she she's as much of an American as she can be,
Hmm.
but there's something somewhere always gonna tell her, no, you're not.
Hmm.
You're not. But she manages. Anyway, so for me, no, jumping in the boat and becoming an American, it doesn't seem to be what I want to do, at least not right
Hmm.
now.
Gotcha. Yeah, honestly, like because I'm not planning on staying in Ukraine forever. Like I'm also trying to think of like where I want to be in the States, and my previous choice of Oklahoma, because I'm interested in like Southern culture that's not just associated with racism. Like I like the
Right.
food. I like the idea of like hospitality. It's got really nice mix of different weathers and different terrains, and it's kind of in like the Southwest. But then they passed really restrictive abortion laws, and also I think like 80% of the state was given back to Native Americans. And while it'd be cool to live there with them, I think we're unfortunately going to have to cross that one out. So I'm still trying to figure out where I would be moving with my wife and our dog. Bleh.
Don't you miss having us like a social life? I mean, yeah, I don't know how social your life is in Ukraine, but don't you miss sometimes when you're in the countryside in the US, having access to friends, access to places where you can hang out?
Um,
Because
kind of, sort of, but at the same time, like you know, I'm in within the same time zone. I'm able to talk to people like when they're awake and like or drink with them online or something. And if I want to like fly out to the other state, it's the only real constraint is, you know, paying for the ticket. It's not about visas to go see a friend. Um, what's the food? I really
So no,
fucking miss the food. I think the food's higher up on my priority list than being able to see friends.
let's be honest. Tell me how you really
Oh
feel
yeah.
about it. Okay, I get it. I miss it personally.
Hmm.
Having lived for 2 years in upstate New York in a full-blown countryside, I felt really, really lonely.
Hmm.
And and the only people I would meet were Buddhists, and Buddhists are weird in general. So it was
Well, let's be honest, we're fucking weird.
weird, and so I didn't enjoy myself. I would definitely, if I was in the heart of Kansas or Arkansas, I think I would suffer.
Hmm.
I
I
would
mean, the
suffer
people
the
in the heart,
isolation, everything else.
yeah, the people in the heart of Kansas and Arkansas suffer. I mean, so there you go.
There you go. Yeah, we'll see. I don't know. You see, one of the things I realized I need to continuously work on is also, okay, what kind of lifestyle do I want for myself? Is there, aside from using jobs as an excuse to live a life that is not necessarily entirely
Hmm.
satisfying, what else is holding me up from really living the life I want to
Hmm.
live, and why am I afraid to kind of define that? I discovered recently something that you're probably familiar with. It's very corny, all right, so don't throw rotten tomatoes at me. It's called Solarpunk.
I have not heard of this.
So the
Solarpunk.
idea is just that, we design unconsciously as humans. We weave a society that looks like the stories we've heard.
Hmm.
And so far, the stories we've heard are essentially, for the last 30 years, they were essentially cyberpunk stories. So like a completely derelict future, the nature is wrecked. There's humanity is just controlled by
Blade
corporations
Runner.
and everything. Exactly. And all its grandchildren, now it became somewhat like uh, a blueprint for
Hmm.
society, and because so many events, especially on the ecological level, have gone in that direction. Yeah, why not? So that kind of that feeds an anxiety inside
Kind
of
of like a
us,
logic of like the
and
American dream is dead. This is kind of like the inevitable consumerist direction of where society is going.
exactly, exactly. And even though it logically makes sense to reason that way, why not do it otherwise? And that's what solar punk
Hmm.
is. Just proposing, dreaming of another future than just having destroyed the planet entirely and just having chips implanted in every parts of our body. Uh, it's just imagining how would it look like if we lived uh, if we had a reasonable relationship with technology and at the same time some respect for nature.
Hmm.
What kind of society would it be? And so I'm kind of weaving my future with those ideas, because I think it's a better fertilizer for the plant that is my life than all these movies which are kind of gloomy
Hmm. Dystopic.
and dystopic. Exactly. I'm kind of tired of the dystopian version. It became cliche and cheap, and also it's not useful.
Yeah,
Uh,
it's very
it doesn't
defeatist.
really. Yeah, exactly. I like to think that I can make a dent, at least in my life. But for that, I need to have an idea
Hmm.
that's positive, and that's where you fit then. Oh yeah, and then I would have a house, and it would be more in that kind of
Hmm.
area with those types of people. With Portland. I found the people I really appreciate. So far, I'm really amazed at how they handle relationships. That's one
What
aspect.
do you mean how they
Uh,
handle relationships?
the fact that they are, I have a few friends, and it happened just like that. And the way they handle our friendship is, to me, um, I really appreciate
Like, would you
that.
say they're like more
And
genuine, or they're more like polite?
they're more polite. They're more eager to understand. They're more curious. They want to know.
Or
They
inquisitive,
respect.
open-minded?
They're inquisitive. They're respectful. It's really something that I've never been faced
Hmm.
with at the scale of a city.
Hmm.
Even the way they drive is kind of impressively courteous. I mean, for somebody who lived in New York like me for a long
Uh-huh.
time, it's
Hey, I'm walking here.
shut up. No, so I've had enough of
Hmm.
that. So anyway, yeah, we've gone through a. I know where I'm going, but I know that I've touched on various topics. So yeah, Solarpunk is an example of
It's an interesting name. It's
how
very sunshine and belt buckles. Sunshine and spiked belt buckles.
yeah, yeah. Uh, whatever there's whatever comes out of this movement, whether music or novels or anything, it's pretty damn
Hmm.
horrible. I mean, it's super corny and everything, but I want to believe that that's the way to
Hmm.
go, and that's what also, in some way, Mochi is about. It's about kind of dreaming
Good
together.
tie-in. Excellent tie-in to the the platform.
No, but I really feel
Hmm.
that way. That's what kept me in. I thought, oh, there is something that activates with Mochi, that self-activates, and that creates a society, and then that creates a culture. And whenever I discuss with the people who are involved in the project, they mention that the
Hmm.
culture not as this vague notion. No, culture in the sense of it includes everything. It includes how you treat each other, what makes you enthusiastic, what makes you angry, all that.
What
and
are the
and
dankest
it
memes that make you ROFL?
well, that's part of it, of course. But seeing things from the perspective of someone who, I'm not really interested in social media, so I could be really uh, I could criticize the project very
Hmm.
much, but I don't, because I see that it has an impact on how we behave,
Hmm.
and positive impact on how we dream, and what tools we want to use to make those dreams come true. Um, I think it's
So would you say
great.
that it's
I
like
think
a, it's in some way like a nice like framework for, something that could be implemented on either a larger scale or like more widespread? Like, do there need to be like more different mochi clubs, or does everybody need to like fly the banner of mochi?
um,
Then I think
I
there are
think
competitors starting to come out, but like for the time being, it's still a pretty novel uh, experiment.
it's novel, and it's so I think it's so good we cannot really define it
Hmm.
yet. It's a little bit like it's a little bit like the blockchain in a sense. You might disagree on that, but I'm still convinced that the blockchain is going to change quite a few
Hmm.
things. But even the ones who market themselves as visionary for the blockchain, they won't be able to tell you what it's going to be used
Hmm.
for in 5 to 10 years. No one can. And Mochi touches a bit of the blockchain, but mostly uh, what it's like to grow a culture,
Hmm.
and without forcing anyone. Just by means of, it's like this cell that breathes in necessary elements,
Hmm.
and develops like that. And I think it's very, very organic. and I think it's not going to be necessary for now, at least, to make it this change machine. It's becoming that on its own. I think the way it's been designed is very cunning. So yeah, I enjoy the process very much. I rejoice when I see
It
that.
sounds what you're saying kind of like reminds me. I was talking with Amanda Dominguez, I think, like a few podcasts ago, about cyborg
Right.
anthropology, about how like the humans kind of evolve around like partly symbiotically with the technology and like our means of communication and like our public identity, and just like both the blockchain and like Mochi kind of evolving, but we're not really sure how uh, in our relationship with other humans is interesting.
That's that's how I feel. I think this is the heart of most of what we do. AI or not, it's still going to start with humans for
Mm-hmm.
now. And the end of the story is told on how it started between humans. You
Mm-hmm.
know what rivalries are seeded early on in the creation of a group, what intention
Mm-hmm.
is shared within most of the group. And I think Mochi is a healthy place to start a culture and to develop it
Mm-hmm.
uh, naturally on the basis of what every participant wants. But I think it's healthy. That, that's
I
what I wanted to
definitely
say.
think that as for in terms of like both the platform and kind of the goals, the fact that there is like a degree of like selectiveness to it. It's not about just like how many clicks can I get out, how many advertisers can I like jump onto this project with. Uh, it's about like fostering both a sustainable but also like a distinct and valuable like internal culture.
Right, and it works. And this is not something that that's what also I like most is uh, I didn't see it coming.
Mm-hmm.
I just trusted Gabe and a few people who got it started. I thought they're people who think, so it's clearly something they thought about for a while, and it's not just a game. It's got to be something a little more,
Are
and
you into
by exploring,
are you
yeah.
into the mochi like the food?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. It's pathologic at
I would
some
say
point. Yeah,
no, it's very surprising to me in the same way that my first interaction with mochi was. My friend brought it out as like a treat from like the freezer, and like there were like the balls with like ice cream in them, and I had no idea there was fucking ice cream in it,
right,
and so I bit
right.
into it with all the force I had.
You know,
Instant brain freeze. It's the exact opposite of like biting into a molten hot pizza roll because the outside was like kind of nice. And you
right.
bite in, and then you have lava pour down your throat.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I don't think most people can tell where it's going, but I have a few pointers, and Muchi is one of them. Tell me, okay, this is
Mm-hmm.
possible. There are directions that are definitely healthy. They're based on things that are realistic, relationship between people, nature. I mean, there are things that seem to be reasonable building blocks for my next 20 years if God
Mm-hmm.
willing. We'll see.
God or Buddha
For
willing.
now, no. Yeah, whoever.
Cool. So, you're also currently going through a programming bootcamp. Who is this through again?
Treehouse,
Mm-hmm.
Team Treehouse, and yeah, it's they fire hose a lot of knowledge. It's hard to follow. It's a boot camp. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, the fire hose is straight down your throat. You have to be ready for it. But for me, it's excellent. This is what I
Mm-hmm.
needed. I've been
And you're
recommending
doing this
that.
to kind of develop your back end skills, or is it front end? Mhm.
Both. The back end is very often going to be about how I communicate with smart
Mhm.
contracts. So definitely not a part of their training. Uh,
Mhm. It's mostly all in. It's in
more
Java, correct? JavaScript,
JavaScript.
yeah.
Yeah. yeah, so I do that every day, all day, and at the at the end of that, I'll have my skill sets are going to be exactly where I wanted them to be. So I'm glad
And
with
I
that.
think we discussed before, like your idea is kind of like an ecological blockchain monitoring project.
Yeah, so it's called Regen Network. Regen, like regenerative,
Hmm.
and
Do you have
it's
this
just
already
an example.
copyrighted and set up? Because this is eventually going to be going public. I don't want to pull the rug from
Oh,
under you.
it is public. It's going public today, I think.
Okay.
Uh, so it is a thing, and it's a project that basically offers to be a single point of reality that enables you to know where are the soil at in various parts of the
Hmm.
world. Are there forests? Are there layers of toxic waste? Are there, and the purpose is to let companies and NGOs and state institutions have one single point where they can see and transact
Like shared
around what
topographical data.
this
Hmm.
exactly. So I find it extremely useful. I am sure it's going to take a while to pick up momentum because the way things have been arranged so far around fixing the planet have been extremely decentralized and messy, and nobody really agrees on
Hmm.
anything. So, but starting with that perspective and saying, okay, we're going to offer you a place where you can definitely be clear about what's going on in various locations, and where you can actually harvest trees, where you
Yeah.
cannot.
So the idea was
What's
it's proof of planting. Is that as you described it?
oh that is more a little love project I have on the
Oh, okay.
side. Yeah, I would love to offer the possibility for anyone to plant a tree and be
Hmm.
rewarded for that. But for that, you need to have an app that mitigates cheating as much as
Hmm.
possible.
So with like
I mean,
with the regen network and just like how blockchain works, would they like the objective be to like tokenize it, or would there be to like to how do you incentivize like proper reporting and like you know
well,
participation, fair
yeah,
participation?
people. You have a token for
Hmm.
that, indeed, and you're going to have mediators who are verificators. I don't know what to call them.
Verifiers,
Verifiers. Thank you.
validators,
Yeah,
I think.
validators and who are going to make sure that who are going to verify the claims that are made on the
Hmm.
platform. So yes, it is definitely necessary. And it's a good challenge, I think, because in as much as with DeFi, you're dealing with things that are already out there in some kind of financial
Hmm.
stratosphere, what happens on Earth, there is proof. There's nothing more tangible than that, but you need to prove it
Hmm.
in order to bring it to the blockchain as a reality. You need to have enough chains of people who verify one another's
Hmm.
work in order to put it on the blockchain and say, okay, this part is covered in healthy forests and there is no overexploitation in this area. Uh, you need
Hmm.
that. You need more than one participant. I personally think the project is too in advance, so it's going to probably suffer from being too visionary.
Uh-huh.
Uh,
Like the scale is a little bit
but
too idealistic
yeah,
for the time being.
yeah, I think so. But I think if you don't get it started at some point,
Hmm.
it's never going to happen. So sometimes it's just you have a first iteration of a project, and then everybody leaves. It's a disaster, and it's picked up again and it becomes something. I wouldn't surprise Civil, for instance, the journalistic
Hmm.
project launched by Consensus, who basically went south, would be picked up again
Did it go
and became.
bad? I like the idea with civil. So that's like a they like the smart contracts are kind of tied to their like mission statement, correct? And
Yeah.
so like their journalistic credentials are kind of like riding the line of are we fulfilling this like what we set out to do, and are the people who are like
Yes.
investing in us getting like are they satisfied with our work?
Exactly. Yeah.
So
Which is not a bad idea.
but what happened with it?
Their token went pretty much to zero,
Mm.
and their IPO, their fundraise was really not
Or
successful.
IPO
I
or
mean,
something?
yeah,
ICO.
yeah.
Or
ICO, yes, I would think. It's a name I kind of banned
mhm,
since there's been so much disaster around it. But yeah, no, it didn't really work. But I wouldn't surprise if it takes a life of its own a bit later. And I think the same goes for
mhm,
Regen. You have tons of very valuable projects who just came too early and are just trying to find the right
mhm.
ground to take roots. And I want to be a part of that.
I think also like that's part of my mind like towards the question I asked earlier in regards to like Mochi kind of like being the framework for either like competitors or whatever. Like, knock on wood, hopefully like it doesn't go south, but uh I still think that as far as like the selectiveness and the objective being like developing culture and like creating something that is sustainable and like worthwhile for everybody who does join, who wants to stick around. Uh yeah.
Yeah, that would help. All these things are looking in the same direction to
Mhm.
me. Like, and so I really don't see any reason why it would go south. Volume, maybe,
What do you mean?
the volume of
Mhm.
people. That's what happens with bigger companies, but then things are gonna naturally go. People are gonna. There's gonna be many groups and subgroups,
Mhm.
so I don't know. I don't know if the volume or the number of people involved in a platform is going to have a evil
Mhm.
impact on Mochi, but maybe
Yeah, I
not.
mean, I think that's kind of why right now the selection is pretty limited, and there's a like the interview process is the way it is. It's to prevent like kind of it scaling out of proportion and losing its protected culture.
Right.
Not a cult.
Not
The ultimate tagline.
that happens. Yeah, that happens quickly. Yeah, I don't know about that. I don't know about that.
So you mentioned you mentioned with Solarpunk, there's music tied with it.
Yeah, there's people who just it's very hard to tell if they're not using that as a shtick to just labelize
Mhm.
their cuisine and put it online and
Yeah, because
label it
the way
solar
you
punk.
you
But
said it first, it's like it struck me as this is just like another weird subgenre, like lollycore or like scream metal.
yeah, right. No, no, because the root of it is through
Hmm.
books. So I tend to think that when people make the effort to read, to write novels or short stories, it's going to have a little more density than just a musical fad. And in that case, it starts with vision for the future.
Hmm.
You might find it corny, you might find it, but at least it's a base,
I mean, I think
and
it's
it does.
I think at the
Yep.
very least, like right now, it's better to like kind of learn from the mistakes, I guess, of like the previous generation where it was just like everything's good right now, the money is infinite, we're the US is the best country in the world, there's nothing that could go wrong. We'll just keep doing what we're doing, there's no consequences. So like at least now, like seeing we're able to like predictively uh kind of see the direction that the world is going ecologically, kind of seeing what's going on with wealth inequality stuff, we're able to more proactively try to solve things by like, funding things better or building better technologies like that would, you know, make the world more ecologically sustainable and like in the future. I think it's a good thing, you know.
Oh yeah. No, we're in a good position in that sense, and even politically, we're I think in a good place. No, I'm positive about it,
Mhm.
but it's an effort, and it's an effort to look in a certain
Mhm.
direction. Yeah. So I hope more journalists are going to get
Mhm.
involved because it's not completely a game of make believe, but it's necessary to raise
Mhm.
awareness about that, and instead of pointing fingers at all the oil leakages and disasters that happen, that still needs to happen. But on top of
Still needs
that,
to be covered. The
uh,
oil leakages don't need to happen.
yeah, exactly. You're right. It needs to be covered, but the rest and a more positive vision for the future needs to be
Mhm.
promoted, and it needs to be presented as something that is also likely to
Mhm.
happen, just like a comet. And
Yeah, 100.
maybe it
I 100% agree with that. Just because, like, I feel like that's kind of that's more or less what a lot of American politics has devolved into. Just kind of like either being we're defeated. Why try to like fix things? If the objective is no longer to like make tangible changes, it's to beat the other side, regardless of like what the positions are, and regardless of how similar their actual positions are. Like uh, Biden is also still opening more camps for children, and they're still bombing in Iran or in Syria. So, like, I think now, especially with a lot of the larger like grassroots politicians, and with a lot of new like business initiatives that are trying to be more sustainable and they're trying to be more like conscious about stuff. Um, like, I think the discussion is up. I'm not sure what that threshold is to say like, oh, we're definitely better, because there's still like fuckloads of ignorant people online like spouting all sorts of racist, hateful shit.
oh yeah, yeah,
As
yeah.
much as I want to also just be positive about everything, like I'm also trying to not be blindsided by being by being too optimistic about things.
It's don't you get the feeling? I personally get the feeling that it's gonna be uh, easy to have my optimism be counterbalanced by this underlying pessimism that's
Hmm.
everywhere. I mean, I don't share that perspective that a lot of people have. That yeah, we're the U.S. We're the best. It's going to continue forever.
Hmm.
Let's keep on just gas guzzling and all that. Um,
You
but
gonna drink that
I think
gas?
it's
Oh, no.
but I definitely think that for me it takes more effort to imagine something that's more
Hmm.
positive, and it's very natural to think of the objections to these
Hmm.
positive projects. Yeah, I think it's easy to think about, and it's easy because also we have so many movies, much of the sci-fi is
Hmm.
about that. I think about all the recent movies in the last 15 years. If it's about the future, it's about apocalypse.
Yeah. Like what off the top of your head, what can you name? There's like there's
The
Blade
Road,
Runner, The Road.
yeah.
What was that one? Elysium.
Uh, Elysium is one of them. I mean, even like mainstream content like Mad
Hmm.
Max, or it's been a while that it's been cooking. So it comes without effort,
Hmm.
right? To think about that vision of the future, a vision of the future where there's more plants, more birds, more even something that is better than what we had
Hmm.
before. Some sort of um, if all the technology in the world and all the nature we still have could just
Hmm.
coexist, I mean, what a potential that would
Yeah.
be if we learn to kind of recycle better and
It
just
does seem
have
very much like we're at like the crossroads of, when like whenever there's those TV shows that like they do traveling into the future. Are you the society that it blew itself up and it's like an ancient civilization and everybody all the technologies regressed like 5,000 years, or are you like the
right.
civilization where there's no hunger, there's no pain, there's medicine that you can just inject whenever you break an arm, it instantly heals the bones. I'm immediately thinking of like Rick and Morty and like Futurama, where they have the utopia future, and then they also have like the fucked up dystopian, separate the classes, or everything is war.
Now, I haven't seen the episode,
Uh-huh.
unfortunately. But does it seem so crazy that all these technologies are more accessible by everyone, and there's less need for wars because we've managed to utilize the unlimited source of powers that be
Hmm.
on Earth? Is it really that crazy? I don't think so. You
Yeah,
know,
but it's just the like legacy organizations and international structures of like war, conquering, taking resources from other places. It's just this has always made profit, and why change things? And the people who constantly lobby for things to not change also can like lobby marketing and different like messaging companies to make sure that their narrative stays. There are bad guys that we need to get rid of. There are criminals in our streets that we need to put in prison. Like
right.
there's always like that monetary incentive, but like I agree, there is absolutely a way for things to be shared equitably without like going full blown fascist communism. There
Right.
is a natural like selfish altruistic outcome that can make things better. It's just are we willing to try to be bold and pursue them and give seed money to organizations that want to implement these things.
It seems that some voices, including mainstream voices, are pointing that direction. Like, let's make America's
You're saying they are or they aren't?
smarter. They
Uh-huh.
are. They are. I think Biden plays a little bit that card, and it's great. I don't know if he's gonna really push that to the max, and he's gonna really apply what he said
Mm-hmm.
he would. But if that's the case, it's
Mm-hmm.
wonderful. It's wonderful. I mean, there's so much to replace and so much to change, and uh, and so many people that are starving right
Mm-hmm.
now. And so, yeah, the New Deal, the idea of a New Deal, it's been done before. It worked wonderfully, and I don't see why it wouldn't work this
Mm-hmm.
time around either. A lot of people are really suffering. Yeah, I think the New Deal is a good example
Are you talking
of
about like
a
AOC's like Green New Deal idea?
no, the New Deal, the
Oh,
original
so
New
just
Deal.
FDR.
Yeah, FDR's New Deal. The Green New Deal. Um, I'm a little afraid about uh, how fast they expect it to
Mm-hmm.
go. That's I think I agree overall, but I'm wondering if they're that
I think
realistic.
my problem with
How
like
fast?
the the original New Deal is that like yeah, it was a pretty good jobs initiative, but it was also like we got out of like the Great Depression more because of like World War II, because we
Yeah,
stimulated the war economy, and that was the thing that like we were fighting and shipping supplies, and that made us money. I mean
yeah,
that like it's
yeah.
definitely a good idea, the New Deal. It's just I feel like the economic value of it is very hard to separate from the war economy, unfortunately.
Oh yeah, you're
So
right.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I think I'm hopeful with like the Green New Deal. The objective, at least the explanation for like the expedience with it being tied to like ecological timestamps of this is how much time we have uh, before climate change is irreversible, and so this is how bold we need to be. These are the things that we can do. Again, it's really hard to say with different initiatives what things can be better implemented where, but I think it's a good idea.
Yeah, I think so too. I think so too, and I am clearly bullish about a lot of things that can happen in the
Hmm.
future. Uh, I know not a lot of people are, but I think there's really, and I'm not talking about necessarily, oh yeah, the blockchain-based enthusiasm about how it's going to replace banks,
Hmm.
and this is really a blockchain as a minute part to play in this whole story. But I think we can really change things for the
Hmm.
better. Uh, and yeah, yeah,
I'm down with it. I've always had this not always, but I've been harking on this if I were to run for any sort of political office, like my platform
right,
uh is one just like would be in favor of a lot of like ecological initiative, but uh in kind of like the vein of a New Deal slash an integration with like the whole World War II or the war economy thing. It would be kind of like
right,
repurposing a lot of the funding that goes to like the Pentagon and doing like a federal jobs program that also it would be kind of like a conscription kind of thing, but it's not specifically just the military. It would be towards like a bunch of different federal positions, including like road work, working at hospitals, working at administrative buildings. For my pitch is for 1 year you do uh you work in like what in one of these fields. You could either select it or you could like do some sort of test. It would include the military, so you could do 1 year of like the boot camp, the training stuff, and then after it
right.
you get to do you can go on with your education. You can potentially stay within the field. You would get some sort of compensation doing this. It's not just like free labor. But one, it like helps rebuild infrastructure. Uh, it helps fund and keep people working in places that are desperately in need of labor. And two, it kind of it takes all of like the insane amount of money that we're throwing at the Pentagon, and even within the military, you're not signing 8 years away of your life when you're just turning 18 and you're not allowed to drink. It's a 1 year training thing, and then you get to decide whether or not you want to stay in that or if you want to go get an education, and that way everybody can say like in some way they're helping serve their country.
They are. I did that when I was young.
Hmm.
I don't know if that exists. I was a consensus objector,
Hmm.
and
In
so
France.
that gave me, yeah, in France. So instead of spending 1 year in the army, you spend 2 years serving your country. But in that case, I worked in an educational
Hmm.
observatory. But yes, definitely, it's I think a good thing to put our youth to use, and
I feel
also
like too many people would see it as like way too communistic of a way too socialistic of a direction. If we
really.
were to try to implement it in the states,
Oh,
despite having like
a lot of.
this like very pro-war culture, uh,
Oh yeah, you're right. You're right. Yeah,
socialism is still
veterans.
like a pretty big boogie word in the states.
Yeah, I'm well aware of that. Yeah, there's. I don't see how socialistic that your proposal would be, uh, other than
I
just.
mean, having to do a year of any sort of like labor for the state, I think would be seen as socialism.
Oh yeah.
Technically it is socialistic in its practice, but it is also like it's not take all of your crops and all of your wealth and then redistribute it. It's
No.
properly use taxes and then also kind of it's kind of just imagine like another year of school.
Yeah.
It's not like
Yeah.
It's not like forced labor. You're gaining useful skills. You're gaining professional awareness, and you're becoming a functioning member of society.
Yeah, and you're faced with a reality that you probably wouldn't access from your original
Hmm.
class. So yeah, that's my experience in that.
They still need they
So
still need to
yeah.
teach how people how to do taxes in school.
No, no, you can't do that. You would
So what was
you
your education like in France, and then eventually coming over to the States? Like you're still technically continuing your education with like programming stuff.
Yeah, it's never
Hmm.
ended. I did university in France in English, literary
Hmm.
English, and then I learned as a Buddhist monk. I learned Tibetan
Hmm.
because I wanted to be close to to an old master who only speaks Tibetan.
So
So
did you do that
and also old.
after college or after university?
Yeah, yeah. After college, after university, yeah. In my yeah, in my 20s, my 30s, 20s, late
Mm.
30s, 20s, early 30s. And yeah, that was my uh, second wave of learning
Hmm.
things. And when it comes to IT and develop the programmation, it's been a good 7 years. Yeah, it takes
Hmm.
longer. But yeah, I don't. There's no reason why I should stop learning stuff.
What was school like
But
in France for you? You say it was like a good experience. Was
no, I disliked
uh
it very much. I'm not really designed for that. I learn better on my own and with an objective
mhm,
than just very generalistic type of
mhm.
approach in France. Yeah, you you, you learn about everything. You have tons of homework. It's a whole day. It's not like the U.S. You start as a kid. You start your day at 8:30 and it ends at 5, 6. So
Fuck.
no, I yeah, fuck. I really didn't like it.
I definitely like a lot of
Uh,
like the initiatives like that kind of change and reform how schooling is, how testing is. Because like there are a lot more like studies now into seeing how kids actually learn better, as opposed to just like, oh, this is how we learned it, this is how you should learn it.
Oh yeah, we can do much better than that. That's for sure. But I don't know. It seems that the educational system is slow to evolve. But yeah, they have already proven that. I think that's in
Hmm.
Finland. They let kids sleep until 10,
Oh
8,
God.
9, 10. Yeah, and their results, their accomplishments, their scholarly accomplishments are way
Hmm.
better because we're designed that way. There's a reason why we
And
can
they
wake
pay
up
people to
when
go to their schools, to their universities.
there you go. No, I think they're doing a better
Mm.
job than France or the US for that matter. Uh, Supporting them is important. I see what my daughter goes through at her college and how much work she has to do. It's not a life. On the one hand, I have to encourage her to continue and
Is
do
she
it,
in
but
college? Is she in high school?
yeah, she's in college. She's in UBC and British Columbia
Hmm.
University. So yeah, she works like crazy. Is it really the life we want to have? Like, are we? I don't know. I
So
don't.
for like universities in France, is it I'm sure it is nowhere in like comparison to like the cost of American college.
Oh, it's yeah. No, you don't pay.
Man,
That's the
fuck every country
difference.
that's not the US who didn't have to fucking pay for the goddamn higher education.
You don't pay, but it's also very much harder to get
Hmm.
accepted, of
What is
course.
it's more
It's
competitive or what?
Yeah, it is. In the beginning, the first 1, 2
Hmm.
years are insanely competitive because you don't pay.
But
So
you're also able to like
yeah,
apply to universities in other EU countries, correct?
of course.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know how. I don't know what's the scenario. I know they have a program. The EU has created a program to enable that to happen, so you can go and do it.
No, no, but I'm
But
saying like as a French citizen, or like when you're going through the education system in France, when you're applying for colleges there, you're not just applying for
right.
universities in France unless you want to, but like you can apply to like study in Spain or study in the UK without having to like
Yes, you can.
and then you also get like uh uh student residencies and stuff living in the other countries.
Yeah, they make it easy, and you don't have to really worry about uh, residency
Hmm.
or you know uh, the moment you're a European, you can live anywhere
Hmm.
you want. Uh, the, the, the the UK unfortunately is not part of that
Womp
anymore,
womp.
but yeah, doesn't matter.
Who fucking needs them?
No, I think I can't criticize them that
Hmm.
much, even though the way it was done and the ideologies behind are just
And the
smelly.
leadership is
But
fucking ridiculous. Is Boris Johnson still the prime minister?
I don't know. I stopped really keeping in touch
Mhm.
with that.
Yeah, I know.
It's
Like
just
Ukraine, it's for a long time. It's now been the one of the prime objectives to be able to integrate into the EU. But like naturally, there's like that huge fight with like Russia wanting to be able to maintain its control, or its influence over Ukraine. So it is an interesting thing. Like one, me being from the States, and like even to like it's a big deal to try to like study abroad. It's an expensive ordeal. Like any sort of education, like everything has to be like domestic, and it's still going to be expensive no matter where you go. And then like my wife, being Ukrainian, like they want to like be part of the EU, uh, and like it's still not crazy expensive to like get higher education. But yeah, I think the whole EU system where you're able to kind of like move and study in other places with other languages is definitely a boon.
oh yeah, oh yeah, it's great. It's great. I might do it
Hmm.
actually.
Yeah, if I ever have kids, like it's a I think it's a pretty like important thing to me that they eventually like get to study outside of the U.S.
Yeah, we did that with that in mind.
Hmm.
Nisa, my daughter, she uh, she lives in Canada now, and that completely changed her
Hmm.
mindset for the
Hmm.
better. So she could still live in the U.S., but she's realized a lot of things, and she turned around on a lot of things.
Yeah, I'm very much worried about being like that international, well, because I've lived in a couple different places. I'm worried about like coming back to the States and being that one international douchebag who won't stop talking about like, oh, living in this other place was so nice and things are so backwards here. But
Oh
but
yeah,
I think it's important to like have a bit of like an international mindset in a lot of things. It's not just us living in this one place, an insular society. Like we globalization has happened, uh, for the better or worse, and like it's hard to not have that as part of your mindset.
I think it has happened. It has sunken in most
Hmm.
culture, and my generation, the term we had for globalization was the global
Hmm.
village. It's because that's what we had in our mind now. Since the distances have
Hmm.
shrunken so much, and it's easy to fly anywhere. It's easy with the internet to discuss with somebody who's on the other end of the world.
Find the
Um,
weirdest
then
porn.
it's right. Weirdest porn, absolutely. I mean that's a total part of the
Hmm.
experience. I mean, we might not just uh, insist too much on the topic you evoked, but that in
Hmm.
itself gives some kind of openness in their mind to people who actually realize, oh, actually like women from all over the world. they're all beautiful. I mean, there's always a beautiful
Hmm.
world, girl in any country you go. We call that the global village, which was an inviting and kind of sweet
Hmm.
terminology for what we see now as something threatening and
Hmm.
dangerous. But it doesn't have to stay that
I
way.
think it's
Uh,
it sounds to me like the American idea of the melting pot, which has
right.
now kind of I feel like we've kind of gotten away from a lot of that messaging and a lot of like the spirit of that. Like the Statue of Liberty was with the I think somebody in like Trump's administration was like, yeah, the Statue of Liberty is about, you know, pulling yourself up by your bootstraps and, you know, only getting the best from other countries. Like that's not what the fucking Statue of Liberty is about. That's not what the idea of coming to the US is about. Um yeah, it's
No.
weird how much people are working overtime to try to turn like being an international culture into a negative, you know?
Yeah. I There's always going to be morons who
Hmm.
just misunderstand and and misuse the opportunities that we
Hmm.
have currently. But I think we still have these opportunities. They can be put to good use, and this global village can be not a
Hmm.
nightmare. I still think we have enough resources. I still think we are going to learn a lot technologically. We're going to learn a lot, and if we handle all that well, it can actually be much nicer. It's not about I'm not into the let's mitigate the
Hmm.
damage mentality. I want better than
Hmm.
that personally, and I think we can get it.
Agree or disagree? There are more good people in the world than there are bad people. Or good, there are more good people in the world than there are evil people.
Agree. Agree. uh, you have absolutely evil people. I think they tend to occupy higher roles, higher
Hmm.
ranks. I think this is the case. I think it's easier for a sociopath to make it in the corporate world than it is for somebody who has a little bit of
Empathy.
self-respect and empathy. But nevertheless, I think yeah, by most people are cool
Hmm.
people. And very often, because of the society they live in, their coolness cannot be really uh, cannot breathe and
Hmm.
cannot really exist and manifest. But in most cases, people just want to be left alone and be useful if they can, and that's it. That's what about you? Do
Yeah,
you agree
I
or disagree?
100% agree with that. Like,
Right.
it takes a lot of effort, I think, to like, you know, to be evil and then also like be okay with it. Like
Right.
because you know for a lot of things you're kind of like taught to try to be a moral person to have to like value things intrinsically without having to, you know, not everything needs to have a resale value, not everything needs to be an investment.
Right.
um and in regards to like having that be your morality, where you know where humans are just numbers, deaths and casualties are all statistics, like that. I think it takes more work to be kind of soulless. Everybody, I think, it wants to be the hero of their own narrative. Everybody wants to be the good guy. Everybody wants to like succeed and be proud of like their success. Nobody wants to be ashamed of how they live their life.
If you have enough, if you're smart enough, that's exactly what you would want to do. I agree. Uh, what story? What story will my life be for my
Hmm.
grandchildren? Is something pathetic and about greed and hatred, or something about growth and learning and love? I would certainly think that the latter
Hmm.
is more the option that I would choose, and that anybody would choose. So
Well, hopefully, it's just
yeah,
I also think like a lot of the good people, like they kind of get drowned out by uh you know the harshness of a lot of reality stuff. about having to
Oh yeah.
deal with being sustainable, having to deal with like their you know taking care of themselves and their health, and like needing to at the same time you know stay afloat and keep in contact with people. It's difficult. The world isn't easy,
It
but
is.
I think that is just like less mental. It's less mentally and like spiritually draining, I think, to want to be good.
It is more emotionally
Hmm.
efficient. You definitely spend less energy uh, trying to be good than trying to be the best all the time,
Hmm.
which equates being bad. To me. It's just, yeah, having a completely focused rivalry based mentality makes you bad all around. But it doesn't mean you're bad, but you're acting bad because you have severely misprogrammed
Hmm.
your
Yeah, where you
life.
can't like enjoy, because people want to enjoy like singing and dancing and like making art. They don't want it to have to
Yeah.
be their their livelihood. Like if they can avoid it, in most cases, I think people would want to be able to do it as much as they can without having to worry about where am I going to get my next meal.
It's gonna that too is gonna change. I don't know to what degree robotization and mechanization can free time for people and not just get them to be laid
Hmm.
off. For now, it seems that it's not exactly working ideally, but why not? I mean, just that I don't feel we're that far from that situation where work is going to be just especially work by human is going to be uh, just not worth it.
Hmm.
And not even at slave wage, it's going to be not
Hmm.
worth it. So there's going to be we're going to have to find something to do with us.
Yeah, it's a huge effort, I think, to try to like instruct people and like inform them too much about like, oh yeah, like inflation, interest rates, investing in your life. You need to value your time. Everything needs to be have a dollar amount. I think it's more like learning. I think it's a simpler message to you know you get more value in your own life by kind of doing things and that you enjoy than money that I don't know. I think I'm trying too hard to pull out a larger message, a simple
No,
marketable
but
message.
it's no. It's why would you have to? Why would it have to uh, be compressed into a elevator
Hmm.
speech? Maybe it's not meant to. Maybe the real happiness cannot be just summarized in a sentence that sounds good. Do it. Just do it. No,
Thanks,
maybe
Nike.
it's not.
Shia LaBeouf.
Right. So I don't know. I I personally can sense the message you had in mind, and I personally, for sure, completely detest and don't believe the approach of optimization of your own
Hmm.
life. How many minutes I spend, kind of uh, put that all in a matrix and put and level everything down and level all values down to a $2
Hmm.
level, $2 metric. No, come on, just it really doesn't work
Yeah,
that
like
way.
how much do you like value like spending time with your kids or with your wife? You know, like
Yeah,
that sucks to if you have to oh I make more money doing this than I would spending time with my family. Or,
there we go. Yeah, no, I suffered that because I'm unfortunately I don't value enough. I think the time I spend with family and the message is still not sunk in enough, but I'm realizing it slowly, and and I'm realizing it's for free, and it's something that you can do all the time, and it's something that you're gonna regret if
You
you
just
don't
gotta get high on
get
the right
active.
supply.
Right.
Speaking of which, man, I still gotta find somebody who can fucking sell me weed in Ukraine.
Yeah. But you're gonna be back soon, no?
It's questionable. Honestly, it's really up in the air. Hopefully, I'd be back soon. I would like to be like with Mochi. I would very much like to be able to talk with people in a reasonable time zone, and also like potentially participate in some of like the in-person events. So, like right now, both with like COVID and just getting the visa process all the way through. I mean, I don't know how much time it's gonna take.
Hmm. Okay. Well, you don't seem miserable in Ukraine anyway.
It's pretty nice. You got a pretty nice setup here. Got ice cream for breakfast. Take that, kids. Can't fucking do that.
That's
Ice cream for
cool.
breakfast and then burgers for lunch. I made the burgers, but still, I'm in charge of my
No,
life.
that sounds it's perfectly reasonable to me. That's how I see a lunch and a breakfast.
Yeah, man. All right. So we are approaching, I think, the end of the podcast. Do you have anything that you kind of want to plug? Anything that you've been working on? Uh, any books or movies that you'd like to recommend to people?
No, I haven't seen much. What I would recommend for for
Would you recommend people
everybody
becoming
is
monks?
to yeah, become a monk. Just give everything
Mhm.
up, give everything away, and you'll feel better. No, it's true actually, but no, Argentinian movies are great, and this is so I don't have any title that I can that comes to mind yet, but the recent movies that have been released in Argentina in the last 5 years, you can find treasures. So yeah, I've read quite a few books lately, but they're all in
Mhm.
French, and they're about topics that are not particularly modern. Second World War
Mhm.
mostly, so I wouldn't recommend that. And that's it for the rest. No, I have no particular book or movie or activity. I'd say just stay on Mochi, see how it evolves, see how you can bring something of yourself and put it for everybody to enjoy on
It's
Mochi.
sticky. It's
I'd
not a cult.
say yeah, I know, but I really mean it. I don't have a Twitter account nor a Facebook account, but I have a Mochi account, and to me that that really helps me. I find all the satisfaction I had in social medias, and none of the disappointments and anger that I had in the end on
Mhm.
Facebook.
No
So
targeted ads too.
I think no targeted ads as of yet. Let's enjoy it while it lasts.
All right. Thank you, Gaël, for being my guest. Gaël Blanchemain, right?
Whoa, that
All
was
right.
perfect. Thank you,
Yeah.
Robert. Thank you for
Yeah.
having
It was
me.
great having you on. Stay after. I'm just going to close it out.
Okay.
Right.